With the US election just around the corner, I think it's important to reflect on the impact the US election has on the price action. And today, we're taking a look at the impact that the US election has on XRP. As I get into today's video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe, and let's take a look at the charts and what's going on with the price action. So here we have XRP paired up with the US dollar, and we're on the 1 month Bitstamp data here. Okay, I've drawn in here several key things that we need to pay attention to. Okay, so in here we have the red areas, the orange areas, the yellow, and then the green. Okay, these are key areas. Each one of these pillars down here represents 1 year from January to December. Okay, each one of these. Now, with that in mind, it's important to reflect that in each of these years, key things happen from a political standpoint. And in this particular video, we're taking a look at how the impact of the US elections are to, drive either price surges or price crashes in relation to the XRP price. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to take a look over here at the very beginning of our data set. Okay, so this is basically from our source data starts off in August of 2013. Here we can see that there was a bull market high. This is symbolized in green on this pillar. Okay, now you can see that the red area down here is our bear market. The orange area, we have a pump and a dump. And then we have the yellow area here where we're kind of flat. Okay, these are key things that are going on. So what is going on here from an election standpoint? Well, the yellow area is the election year. The orange area is the pre-election year. And the red area is 2 years. It's kind of like a midway point between when the last election was and the next election. Okay, so we basically have done this video or completed this very similar video for BTC. So it's important that we understand, what each of these represents. So I'm going to just use numbers because that's a nice, easy way to kind of reflect on it. This here we are going to say is a +2. This we're going to say is a +3. And this we are going to say is a +4. Okay, and actually it's an election year, so we'll actually just say we'll just put this as a US. Okay, so that's kind of what that is. And then this here is a +1. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, so lots of different ways of kind of looking at it, but this is going to be the easiest way to kind of articulate what my thoughts and expectations are on everything that we see here. So in 2013, we can see that we have this green area. This is +1. Okay, so that basically means the year after the US election, we had a bull market for XRP's price. 2 years after the election, we have a bear market low point. 3 years after the election, we have basically what we call reaccumulation, and potentially even the US election year itself, we actually have another opportunity for accumulation, and basically this is reaccumulation phase. But what has happened every single time so far is that when we get to the +1, the green columns here, we have a bull market peak. Okay, so that's very consistent across the board of different kind of cryptocurrencies. You find the odd exception here or there, but for the most part, you can see here in 2017 we had a bull market peak. This is 1 year after the US election. Okay, after that we saw the initial crash in the kind of idea of +2, that being down here. We actually found support in XRP's price action here in kind of September of 2018, but unfortunately we lost that support and we came down even deeper into the March 2020 low points. Okay, in fact we came down quite aggressively. So in 2017, after that peak in the bull market, we actually saw this price action move down more aggressively, right? It didn't follow what happened previously, and that's an important thing to kind of note. As we kind of move through this, we go over to 2021, we can see here that 2020 was our election year and we had that opportunity for reaccumulation. You can see that through the initial surge and collapse here towards the end of the year. Again, there was a lot of things going on fundamentally during this point. Obviously, that was when 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏 dropped the lawsuit on Ripple. So you can see that accumulation phase going on down there. And then, of course, we have our bull market peak in 2021. Okay, so if we again think about the logic of what we're talking about here, we have +1, +2, +3. For the sake of the argument, I'll just go +4 to keep it nice and simple. And then you have +1, +2, +3, and we're currently in +4, or the US election year. Okay, so what's going on here? Well, we can see that although 2017 bull market and the bear market that followed was irregular, it didn't follow what happened before, the 2021 pattern followed exactly what happened back here in 2013, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, and what I mean by that is that we can see that we had the bull market peak in the +1, the +2 was our bear market low points, which we know, okay, and then of course our initial surge into the +3, and then we have the reaccumulation in the +4, the election year. So here we can see that we've kind of already repeated ourselves with what happened previously, meaning that this potential setup that we found ourselves in, everything from basically 2021, is kind of the setup that we saw back in the very early days where we had 2013 peak, right? So these two are incredibly similar, meaning that if we're into kind of, repeating patterns and history repeating itself, then we should be thinking that the possible scenario for what happens next in the kind of +1, as in the year after the US election, should repeat what happened in 2017, which would be absolutely phenomenal, right? So I want to kind of speculate as to kind of if that is a possibility, what does that look like? How high do things go? And I kind of will do that in another video where I'll talk about potential on price expectations and all that kind of stuff. Today's video is to kind of speculate on the idea that history is repeating itself. And if history does repeat itself under this particular kind of idea that the US election is actually driving some of the kind of repeating patterns and repeating kind of history here, then we should be expecting a new all-time high in 2025. Okay, and that new all-time high could be very, very explosive, in line with very similar kind of fallouts that we saw in the kind of 2017 run. Now, of course, that means that we're going to have a deeper and more irregular bear market in kind of 2026, 2027, and 2028 ahead of the 2029 bull run, okay, following more of what kind of happened back here in kind of 2018 and 19, and even arguably 2020. Okay, so if everything kind of plays out according to plan here, then in history kind of repeating itself, then we're going to be looking for a really big run next year. Okay, so let's go ahead and just clean out some of this noise off the chart, because the other thing I want to show you guys is the kind of thing that gets thrown around on X a lot, kind of regurgitated posts and all that kind of stuff. If we take a look at 2013 here, we can see that we're in this kind of idea of a triangular pattern kind of coming in and looking for a bit of a break to the upside. That break was obviously that fantastic run to the upside on XRP's price action. That run was 110,000%. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to do 110,000%, but we do have a very similar setup here. If we take a look, we can take a look at this particular structure forming right inside here as well. So a very similar setup in terms of price action, as well, of course, as where our years are currently sitting in terms of the US election. Now, of course, the Federal Reserve's monetary policy will also be a factor that we should consider in here, along with the Dixie and all those other kind of factors. But in a kind of really simplistic approach to the market, we could take a look at how the US elections are impacting price action, and we can see here that we are likely to see a significant surge to the upside with the repeating patterns that we have seen historically as well, with these basically these continuation patterns, these wedge patterns that you see inside the chart. Now, I'll probably do a whole video dedicated to what that looks like and the price expectation on that, so do watch out for that one. In this video, I really wanted to focus in on how we have these US elections and how we have a very consistent pattern with a bull market peak 1 year after the US election has actually occurred. Basically, going into kind of January, February of 2025, we should be thinking about new all-time highs for XRP's price action. Now, I know there's a lot to kind of digest here. I know this is kind of speculation, but it's an idea that I think has merit. Now, you guys can let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Where do you sit? Join us in the free Discord server linked in the description. We can continue the conversation down there as well. And if you have found this video useful, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And if you haven't done so, check this video out right here. It's not one you're going to want to miss.